Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connected by Glass. My name is Rob Cassetti, retired senior director here at the Corning Museum of Glass, and I happen to be the guest judge on the final episode of Blown Away. Tonight we'll be talking about the show Blown Away, season 2, and getting a peek behind the scenes, talking to contestants who were part of the show, and learn more about behind the scenes look of how the whole show came together. Fair warning, there may be a few spoilers in case you haven't seen season 2. We have a multi-part program for you tonight. We have Kat Burns in the amphitheater, who will be making a piece during the first section of our evening. We will be taking a look at the Blown Away exhibit here at the Corning Museum of Glass that features 10 objects from the 10 different contestants. And we will be interviewing Jason McDonald and Mike Shelbo, both of whom were in the season 2 and have objects on view here in our exhibit. And we have a special guest, Mike Bickerton, who was the director of Blown Away for both seasons, will be joining us as well. After our hour together, we'll have a special 30-minute segment just for Corning Museum of Glass members. And for members joining us this evening, you should have received an email for the link for that special section of our conversation. First thing off, we're going to go to the Hot Glass Show in the amphitheater, where Kat Burns is with Eric Meek and our team of glassmakers who were featured on the last episode of Blown Away. And let's learn what's going on down there. Eric?
Hey, Rob, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Welcome to this virtual Corning Museum of Glass event. My name is Eric Meek. I was on season 1. I was the judge, the evaluator in the final episode of season 1. I was a little bit more comfortable in season 2 when I was on Team Kat. So I was part of the group of glassmakers who got to help Kat and the other finalists finish their final installations in the last episode of Blown Away on season 2. We're really excited about having known Kat for a long time. Kat Burns is a glassmaker who's worked here in Corning for many years, and it was really fun for us to see somebody who we know so well do so well on Blown Away. I'm just going to read a little bit of Kat's bio. I'm sure all of you have watched Blown Away, became captivated by Kat, her personality, and her powerful story. As a little background, Kat is a defiant artist who uses flamboyant, sarcastic humor to illustrate her internal narrative. Kat's work serves both as a therapeutic tool and a visual diary, a colorful confirmation of personal growth. She creates audacious visuals as a way of communicating and synthesizing the often perplexing, manic experience of living with a mental illness. By destigmatizing personal demons, Kat work incites her audience to discuss what it means to go a little crazy. So, Kat, we were hoping that you could tell us a little bit about what you guys are going to be working on tonight. I think so.
Today we are going to be doing one of the workshop pieces like I did for the final installation, except this one, the idea behind it is a little bit more about your memories as a golden hue. Like when you look back on those single memories and they have that like kind of golden haze to them. I think everyone right now is having a very 2020 continued winter right now that hasn't been super fun. So I think everyone could take a moment to go back into their like happiness and like their summertime memories for a hot second, especially everyone in Texas right now who I hope is staying safe. So right now we're just making a workshop piece. We're going to put that into the oven, and then we're currently covering our first gather in a bunch of different swirled up yellow colors. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Kat. That's really exciting. We're happy to bring this piece to everyone tonight on the live stream. I did want to take a minute to recognize the team here. Helping out is Kat's partner, Chris Giordano. We all call Chris Gio here in Corning. So Chris is going to be the main assistant. Of course, George Fennard. A lot of you will recognize George from Blown Away and from a lot of wonderful productions here at the Corning Museum of Glass. And then also Helen Tegler. So we got a first-class team helping Kat cat out here tonight, and we're really excited to see this piece take shape over the next hour or so. So, Rob, I'm going to turn it back over to you up at the Blown Away 2 exhibit here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So I'm up here in the season 2 exhibit that's on view here at the Corning Museum of Glass. And we're really fortunate to be able to borrow these objects from the production company Marble Media. We have 10 objects on view, 1 object from each of the contestants. And one of the most interesting things for me as a judge is that the artist statements for each of the pieces on view is on view here at the museum. And as a judge, that was really, really important. And part of the judging criteria to really understand the intent behind the objects. So even better than the artist statement and the chance to see these objects, we have 2 of the artists with us tonight. Jason and Shelba, let's just get to know each other. Jason, let's start with you. Welcome to Connected by Glass.
Thanks for having me.
It's fantastic you can join us. And Shelba, was that? I was understanding you were in the garden today.
Yeah. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California.
Okay, the only sunny place and warm place in the country, I think, right now.
Might be.
Jason, your work from the first episode really focused on self-reflection, and I thought that was such a bold move to go so deep so fast right in that first episode. And you were asked to look at mirrors and for inspiration. Talk a little bit about the piece that we have on view and what that was like for you, just climbing right in episode 1.
Oh, sure. So the first challenge was to look in a mirror and make a piece that showcased who we are as makers and people and artists. And I chose to make a calabash gourd. And that's calabash gourds are something that keep showing up in my art practice. They've been around for thousands of years, and they've been used by people as storage vessels for a really long time. In fact, they're thought to be one of the first kind of storage vessels for storing things. I've come to think of them as an analog for African bodies, because that's kind of where that plant comes from. So when I was asked to make a piece of art that's a reflection of who I am, the calabash came to mind immediately. As a person of African descent with a long history as a vessel maker, it just made sense to me. The band of white pattern that's in the middle is a little self-referential. It talks about being a person of mixed race. I thought it was a really effective as a piece of representational art. And it was a lot of fun to make, to show off what I'm thinking about.
It was fun. It was also really fun to watch the piece being made. Were you thinking about the showmanship of the object making when you chose that piece as well?
Well, I wanted to choose something that would be a little challenging. I didn't want to make something boring or mundane.
It's great to have it on view here at the Corning Museum. Last year, having an object on view in Corning. This is fantastic.
Into the museum.
I'm with you. Shelbo, your work here is from the first episode, from episode 3, and it was judged by a cartoonist. And yep. Just talk about that whole experience of suddenly making this representational work, which of course is very much part of your vocabulary, but you're being judged by a cartoonist, and to do something very whimsical and expressive.
Well, first I'd like to say I just rewatched season 2 again a couple days ago, and watching Jason do that first piece was amazing. One of the most technical pieces done on the entire season. So nice job, Jason. Yeah, I really like that piece a lot.
Thank you so much.
The challenge where we got to make a comic book character, I immediately thought of doing an anti-hero and kind of overlapping a similar story of what I'm into personally, and I just wrote that this anti-hero is really just trying to save himself. He's ruled by his own feet, so he's always being taken to help others in the fight against the not so great depression, which would be like the evil force in his world. The lump on his back actually became the source of his strength after unlocking his abilities by uniting with the power flower. So now he defeats energy vampires and other foes from the not so great depression with the powers of infinite love, positivity, and his +3 charisma. It was really fun. I enjoyed all the takes on what everyone presented, and being judged by a professional cartoonist was interesting. And watching it as a fan of the show, I thought that it was really a good critique.
Yeah, yeah. Could you talk a little bit about, you brought a skill set of both a furnace, somebody who works at the furnace, but also the torch. And can you talk about how your work in flame working informed your work for Blown Away?
Flame working became as much of a part of my life as furnace working, because to me they're one and the same. I feel like when I'm doing stuff at the furnace at the bench, I'm always using a torch. And anyone who's watched Blown Away, especially season 2, will see that I'm not the only flame worker on there. Every single piece, almost every single episode, almost every single contestant used a torch. So it doesn't exactly stand out as a separate thing to me. I also have to say that all of my favorite furnace workers, soft glass artists, are amazing torch workers at the bench.
That's great insight. Well, speaking of the furnace and torch work, let's head down back to the amphitheater and see what's going on with Eric. Eric.
Well, thank you, Rob. So Kat's busy here. She's already applied the color to the piece. And you can see they've just been able to put one of the gathers on. So she's already set up the pattern for the Rorschach pickup that we'll do. And this is, again, something similar that you might have seen on the final episode of season 2. But it's going to be fun to see it in a little bit more detail here. So they're working on setting the bubble up. This piece will be larger in scale too. So this is going to, as Kat put it, this is going to go into 16 block. So it'll be 4 gathers of glass. And this is just the first gather after putting on the color. So we've got a couple more gathers to get up here. And I think one of the fun things about watching tonight will be watching Kat and Gio work together. So we were talking to Kat before we got started here tonight, and she's like, Gio's my guy. We've been working together a long time, and she really wanted to make sure that we highlighted their close teamwork and their partnership together. So we're excited that they're both able to be here with us tonight as we set this piece up. So Helen is helping out here, keeping some of the smoke out of Kat's eyes as she uses the paper to shape this up. Got a couple more gathers to do here, so we'll get this shaped up. Oh, the other thing I want to make sure we point out is, we're still in the time of wearing masks, and obviously that didn't have to happen on season 2. When season 2 was being filmed over a year ago now, it was just before the breakout of COVID. And so obviously we weren't wearing masks for that, but you can see that we're wearing masks tonight. And so we're using a little foot pedal actuated inflation device to get the air into the glass to make this piece. So going to be cooling this off a little bit and setting up for the next gathering.
Okay, Eric, thank you. It's great to get a glimpse back into the hot shop, and thrilled to welcome Mike Bickerton to the conversation. Mike is the director of Blown Away season 1 and season 2. And Mike, I think the last time you and I were together, we were in a very non-socially distanced production trailer just outside the hot shop for Blown Away. Welcome to the Connected by Glass.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. I'm really glad to see you again. The last time we saw each other, it was, I think, the day before we closed the border between Canada and the US. So a lifetime ago.
Yeah, absolutely, a lifetime ago. Yeah, Blown Away was shot just before the borders closed, just before the shutdowns all began. So um, it's a little bit of a reunion to be able to see everybody again this evening. So so Mike, you've won so many awards for productions, including Best Direction reality competition series for Blown Away. So first of all, congratulations!
Thank you very
What
much,
an
Rob.
honor!
I honestly, it sounds so cheesy, but we're just going to lean right into it. I was blown away by the nomination for the award, and winning it was it's icing on the cake. You know,
It's and your credits include Amazing Race Canada, and so you're not a stranger to this format. But what was it like for you to climb into the world of glass and glass blowing, and essentially learn this new sport you have to figure out how to film?
you know, I mean, with every new show, I kind of have to make myself enough of an expert that I can tell the story properly, and that we can get the right content so that the audience understands. But I tell you, I have never seen glass blowing before I got hired for Blown Away. And there was a pretty steep learning curve to try and figure out what all the terms meant and how we could make a show that people like me could understand who have no background in glass.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I spent nearly over 30 years working for Corning and the Corning Museum of Glass, and worked for endless numbers of filmmakers, media coming through, and inevitably, the cameras pointed at the wrong point of the process, and they were essentially missing the most critical moments. And what was striking to me was how you and your crew were completely on it, and not only that, conversant in the process. You weren't saying, "Hey, that thingy, make sure you get that." You're talking about the technical terms. It was as if you guys had been filming glass blowing for 20, 30 years.
I mean, there can't be a higher compliment than former director of the Corning Museum saying that. So thank you.
How did you come up to speed? What was your secret?
You know, it was just doing research. You know, when I get hired on a cooking show, if I have to shoot something about making Swiss meringue, people have points of reference to figure out what that is. So, I can tell you, even if you're not a chef or a pastry cook, I can tell you that you're going to take some sugar and some egg whites and whisk them together in a bowl. But when it came to glass blowing, it just figure out, like, what is the bowl, what is the whisk, what is the action, what are the ingredients.
Yep.
And it really comes down to not being afraid to ask questions. I hate sitting in meetings where people use acronyms that I don't understand. So I'll always throw my hand in the air and say, I don't know what that means. And I want to do that on behalf of the audience for Blown Away too, because, you don't want to dumb down all the really intricate steps these artists are taking to make these pieces. And almost all of them do glass demos in their professional career. So, we had experts who are used to translating their skill to an audience who knows nothing. So for us, it was really learning by watching videos and asking what terminology meant when one of the artists was describing their project, and not glossing over things like, "Oh, yeah, I know what Marini is, no problem." It's saying, "Oh, can you explain? I'm doing Marini, and explain what it is, what are the steps, what can go right, what can go wrong." So it was a lot of research, and to be honest, it was watching a lot of videos from the Corning YouTube channel, because you guys have incredible demos that you do with such a variety of artists that, it was a embarrassment of riches there.
Oh, thank you. Yet another professional learning by YouTube. That's great.
Yeah.
And when we first were talking, when Blown Away was just an idea, and we had our initial conversations with the production company, one of the things that certainly sold me, was the description that the show would be a love letter to glass. And how could we say no to that? And of course, and number one, that happened. That's what we see on camera and on screen. In the course of making Blown Away, did you also fall in love with glass?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I had never seen glass blowing in person until the day before the competitors walked in season one. And the production company set up a demo day with assistants from Sheridan College that you see throughout the series. And it's like you said, you know, I thought all the action was going to happen when they were gathering glass from the furnace, because that seems like the coolest thing. It's this puddle of molten glass. And then the stripping off where it drips off into the bucket. I always thought that was the coolest thing ever, and that's what most of the shots were going to be. But that's just the start of every piece, and it's kind of a throwaway step to the artists. So the day before the competitors walked in, we had the Sheridan assistants actually just blow some forms for us. And so we got to see what was happening. And because we could get closer than a normal audience could with our lenses, you know, we could get super close-up shots that an audience member couldn't see if they were watching a demo. So, you know, it's just such an amazing process. And I think you folks know that because you're surrounded by it every day. But, you know, we think of it on the show as like this Harry Potter wizardry that you do, where you can take the same blob of glass from the furnace and, you know, one person can sculpt an ornate goblet, another person can make a giant light fixture out of it. You know, it's really endlessly amazing. So yeah, I still love watching glass and as much as I can.
Fantastic. Is the I have to say that, okay, now you've had personal interactions and shot 20 different glass blowers over the two seasons of Blown Away, and that first episode for each season, you've got 10 glass makers, 10 different furnaces, 10 different reheating glory holes. Oh my goodness. You're herding cats. You've got all these artistic personalities in the room. What sets glass blowers apart for you from other contestants in the realm of competition shows?
You know, I think glass blowers are just like most other artists that I've worked with on shows, whether they be dancers or drag queens or chefs. You know, there's an art and a skill, and they produce this material. What's incredible about glass artists is that when you give 10 people that prompt on day one, you get 10 completely different responses. And then on the second episode, you give 9 people a prompt and you get 9 completely different responses, because all of these artists are so unique. They have their own voice and their own skills and their own likes and dislikes. So it's just that no two artists are the same on the show, in the same that no two artists are the same anywhere in the world. I think it's just having an appreciation for the art of what they do is what translates most.
And do you see, it's fascinating that you make the comparison with other artists and their and how they're motivated and how they're focused. One of the things I often see when I see glassmakers at work is there's verbal communication, but there's so much nonverbal communication. You know, they'll look at the assistant and suddenly the assistant knows what to do. How long did it take you to get that sort of more subtle layer as you were filming the show? Because you certainly capture it.
I mean, that the first day of season 1, you can imagine that we had thought we knew what we were filming, and then we turned on 10 fluffy torches and 10 acetylene torches, and there was lava on the end of every pipe. And, you know, the great thing about the artists on the show is that because they do demo work and because they've had people watching their work before, we would just ask them, let us know when you're doing something that you think is going to be visually interesting, because that's all we want to capture is the process. And so a lot of the great moments that we got is because the competitors themselves said, oh, hey, I'm going to be doing something here. And, you know, as we get through the seasons, now the camera operators will be watching somebody put a piece together, and they'll say, hey, when you're going to join the Incamo together, make sure that I'm here, which is just the level of buy-in from the crew that are making the show too is really incredible. So I think that's where we get to capture a lot of the nonverbal stuff and the important moments.
That's great. Thank you. Mike, thanks for that insight. Hey, let's go back to the hot shop and see what's happening with Eric and Kat.
Perfect timing, Rob. Things are getting fun here. We just put on the last gather. So Chris just went in and took a final dip. So we've got the 4 gathers of glass on there. They just shaped it up in that 16 block. Going to be doing a little shaping And blowing this up a little bit, Kat said we're going to blow this up about halfway and then pick up that Rorschach pattern. So we have over in the garage here, or is it in the garage or maybe in one of the annealers? Yeah, in one of the annealers, we have that pattern warming up a little bit. So then we'll bring it back out and fuse it together in the glory hole. Got a little imperfection in the surface here. So just like Shelbo said, we're using the torch. I was really excited to hear what Shelbo was saying about, you know, torch working and furnace working sort of becoming more of one and the same. There is hardly a hot shop in the country anymore that isn't equipped with one of these nice hot torches to get in and do some of the detail work, and that's really helped bring up the game of what can be accomplished in the hot shop, and that's been exciting for me to see. That's really something that's evolved over my career in glass. You know, when I first went into the hot shop, there wasn't even a fluffy torch, and then that came along, and then some of the people who had experience in the flame shop started bringing their flame working torches in, and it was just amazing to see the how creativity blossomed from there and all the wonderful changes that have happened. So you know, here we have that wonderful view right into our furnace. This is a 2,300 degree reheating furnace. You can start to see that marbled pattern that we set up in the beginning of the process there. That marbled sort of faded picture backdrop for this piece that Kat's working on. So it'll be fun to see as this piece gets blown up a little bit more and cools off a little bit. It'll be fun to see those colors coming out more and more.
I've been telling people forever, you got to check out Corning Museum of Glass YouTube, because it's not anywhere else that you can see inside the glory where the piece is getting flashed. It makes the demo videos that you guys have online that much more exciting and amazing, and actually helps if you're learning glass blowing to understand what's going on inside the glory. So yeah, Mike Bickerton, you might want to put a camera inside the glory hole next season.
No, Shelbo, just hold on there.
Shelbo, that's the camera I am so envious that we don't have. I thought that we were going to be able to see the glass at every single second. So I would love to have that camera, but it's very rare.
Yeah, I know. It's behind like a quartz window or something like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's thanks for mentioning that. You know, it's something we're certainly really proud of, and you know, we spend so much time reheating that it's great just to see what in the world's going on in there.
Yeah.
So, oh, are you guys setting up for another gather, Cat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we've decided we need a little bit more glass.
Make it bigger.
Let's make it bigger.
Nice.
Why not? Hey, you've got the crew here. Let's go for it. I wish everybody watching on Zoom was here in the crowd, because then we could get the crowd pumped up. You know, like, hey, who wants another gather?
So weird.
Right?
So weird.
Another thing that's so special about this shop, though, is, you know, that we've had so many wonderful demonstrations happening in here. We've seen so many great things, and as Shelbo said, you know, the team here that brings this all to life and takes it online as a teaching tool for everybody to reference on our YouTube channel. It's really become a great part of what we do, and something we're all very proud of.
Yeah, if you've ever had to pay for a class or pay for anything anywhere, you realize that the amount of information available streaming on your guys' YouTube channel is millions of dollars worth of free information.
It's an education itself. I spend, dozens and dozens and dozens of hours on the Corning YouTube. It's such a great teaching tool, learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a great resource and something we take great pride in. You know, we're happy, during the last year or so that our team here at the museum and at the studio have really leaned into using our live streams and our YouTube channel as a teaching tool. We're really excited to get back to the point where we can bring guest artists in and artists in residence and teaching artists from around the country to bring more new content to our stream here. So looks like Kat's getting out the pitchfork. We're gonna head over the pastorelli. We're gonna head over and pick up that pattern here before too long. Start fusing that together. All right, so Gio and Kat are heading over to the annealer. All right, so I think hopefully we can switch the camera over and capture that. There we go. So we have that heating up to about 900 degree in the oven there. That's going to come right over. And bring that into the furnace and start to get it heated up here. Multitasking, the ever versatile Kat Burns. I wanted to make a quick plug too while we have a chance. With her popularity on Blown Away, the desirability of Kat's work has just absolutely skyrocketed, and a place that she is selling her work is the CMOG shops here. So at shops.cmog.org, when Kat is able to make enough work, you'll start to see some of it become available for sale again. And also, Kat has some of the work that's related to the show on catburnsglass.com. So if you want to check out a little bit more about Kat's work and learn more about her, those are great places to look. So George is cooling down the pipe. Kat's heating up that pattern. We're going to go in for one final gather of glass here before picking up that pattern. All right, now we get the picture of the whole shop. It's so wonderful in this studio here that we have cameras all around, so we can get a wide view like this to see what everybody's up to. I'm sure up there on set, Blown Away, there are more cameras, but we have a very high camera per glassmaker quotient here. So we have lots of cameras, but fewer glass blowers. They have lots of cameras up there, but they usually have lots more glass blowers to handle too. All right, so George just went in there and dug up that final gather. Live action here in the hot shop. Nice. That's right. We don't get to edit here for content. All right. So using that paper to shape this up a little bit. That one got a little big. We scraped the door coming out. But hey, we got to keep it exciting here.
I'm sitting here in sunny California, but I gotta tell you, I'd much rather be on the floor with Kat. That piece looks exciting.
Jason, you're welcome anytime. Yeah, it's I can't tell you guys how much we're looking forward to welcoming artists back in here to work with us as guest artists. It's something we're certainly looking forward to. All right, so Brad is on camera over there, taking a nice look. We don't have a glory hole camera over here, but Brad's got a great shot. He's standing there, getting an image of that frit melting inside of the glory hole there. Nice. Kat, how's that looking? It's melting together pretty beautifully, huh?
Yeah.
So what are you looking for here? You want that to get...
So I'm looking for this to fuse, but not act has a tendency to want to bubble.
Yep.
So I'm trying to melt it without making it bubble.
So I don't know if everybody heard that or not, but Kat was saying that she's trying to be careful melting this black together. Sometimes it has a tendency to bubble up a little bit. So she's going at it little by little to get that to fuse together nicely. Not stick to the plate, obviously, which is a very important part of this too.
Will you ask Kat what color she's using for the Rorschach?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Kat, Shelba wants to know which black you're using for that.
For this, I'm using opal black.
Opal black, 95? Opal Schwartz. I think so. I don't know if you guys can hear Kat or not, but she's either using 95 or 54. Yeah. So if it's a reducer, it's 95, I think. Yep. Oh, we've got the bag. We've got the evidence. We'll see. Yep. Here. So this is a little bit of a reducer. Here we go.
Is it Kugla? Rickenbach. All right.
Reichenbach. Yep. I love how the flame working community. You guys are lovers of color. I mean, we all are. I mean, color really brings the glass to life. So, all right. So we got that pattern.
Honestly, the palette in soft glass is what inspired me.
It is amazing though, isn't it, Shobo, how the explosion of options in Boro these days. I mean, that has just grown astronomically, hasn't it?
It has, and at the same rate as long as I've been doing glass as a career, I was fortunate to be right there in the boom of the borosilicate color industry.
Mm-hmm. So have you formulated colors yourself?
No, I've never done anything with actual color mixing. I've just been a huge fan of color and studied borosilicate colors because of the vast palette of Kugler and Rickenbach.
Yeah, they certainly had a head start, but they're absolutely the soft glass colors, the traditional makers, Kugler, Reichenbach, Gaffer glass. Had a head start, but those who are producing color for Boro are certainly catching up. All right, so now we have Gio, Helen, and George working together on getting this piece blown up a little bit. Kat did want to have this blown up just a little bit before we put the pattern on here. So we probably got 5 minutes or so to go before this all comes together. All right, so Kat's just checking the size here. She has that shape set up, and she wants to make sure that it doesn't wrap too far around the edges of that bubble. So they want to blow it up a little bit more so that it's more of a one side, so you can view this piece from one side, if that makes any sense. So they're going to blow that up a little bit more. Kat will be throwing a couple more heats on that Rorschach pattern, and in just a couple of minutes here, we'll be picking this up.
Eric, I can jump in and have a few questions for Mike and Jason, if you like.
Yeah, why don't you, Rob? I think we can throw her back down here when it gets exciting again.
Okay, just let me know.
Yeah,
I got to say that I'm feeling all nostalgic seeing Kat. She part of her glassmaking arsenal is her left foot, where she operates the door. And the last time I saw her doing that was out on the glass barge on the Erie Canal when everything's moving and she's closing and opening the doors with her foot. So it's great to see that again. Let's continue the conversation. Shelbo, I'm really curious about just your favorite memory from being on the set with Blown Away.
Oh boy, favorite memory. That's tough. It was such a whirlwind experience that every passing moment felt so new and exciting. I think my favorite memory was probably the nature themed episode. I was really happy with my piece on there and was excited that I pulled off a 10-minute installation in the gallery. It ended up being one of my best moments for sure.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the challenge of the installation just really upset pretty significantly. How about you? How about you, Jason?
There were a lot of good moments on the floor and on the set during filming, but some of my favorite moments were off camera when we were backstage in the green room or relaxing at the end of a long day of filming. The camaraderie with the rest of the cast was something that I didn't anticipate and was really pleased by. Normally there's this sense of people are at each other's throats with reality television shows, and this absolutely wasn't that experience. People really got along well, and I liked that part of it the most. Although there was a moment on set that was pretty exciting that I can think of as being um, like one of my favorite kind of funny moments. I had a mic pack strapped to my leg that slid down to my ankle and was getting in my way, and I was trying not to trip over that thing as I was blowing glass. So that was a fun challenge.
All those things that are conveniently edited out in the
Yeah,
final show.
exactly.
And I'm also curious, Shobo and Jason. Surely your lives are changing because of your exposure on Blown Away. And what do you see the worldwide attention to glassmaking? How is that impacting glassmaking?
Hey guys, I got to interject here before y'all get into that. I think we should take it back down here. We're about ready to pick up this pattern.
Let's do it.
Nice.
And I can't wait to hear this answer. So we gotta leave a little time for that. All right. So Kat's just doing the final heat on that pattern. Just gonna bring it over to the marver here, and then Gio's gonna come out of the furnace here. Just a couple of more logistical adjustments here. All right. Kat just yelled, "Are you ready?"
Timing is everything.
Yep, it absolutely is. All right. Yep. Kat's been patiently waiting. And now we're ready to roll. All right, so she wants to make sure that piece is oriented properly. Here comes Chris with a big old bubble, a lot of glass. Some of you are probably wondering how much that weighs. I'll tell you, it weighs a lot. This is a good 25 pounds of glass or so. So just want to make sure they get that rocked on there just right. Look at that. Amazing.
Very nice.
Yeah. Now with that glory hole cam, you can see what happens when you flop a big old bubble on a flat plate. We've got a big flat spot in that now. So they're going to take some time to get that pattern pushed down on there and to get this rounded back up. So Rob, I think this would be a great time for some of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see Kat at work. That's fantastic. So how's Netflix impacting your lives, my friends?
Jason, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm busier than I've been in a long time. Mostly fielding questions from folks who are trying to get in touch with me through the various social medias. That's totally was unexpected, and is learning how to manage my time because I realize that my time is a commodity these days. But it's also opening up a lot of doors. I'm getting people are contacting me from some of the various craft schools and asking if I want to teach classes during the summer once things start opening up again. And it's getting me a lot of exposure in the glass world that I'm really grateful for.
It's fantastic. Well, congratulations. And Shelva, how about you? How's your life changing with this?
Life is busy as usual. I'm back to the grind here at home. I do a lot of flame working at my home studio. So raising my kids, making glass, doing the usual. But my biggest change is actually coming up in a little bit. I have some pretty big news to share. I've been contacted by a doctor who's going to help me with surgery to get my lump removed. So I'm stoked.
Wow. Congratulations. It's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, it's going to be life-changing. So without Blown Away, never would have happened. at least not for a long while.
Wow, that's an unexpected outcome from the series. Fantastic! Congratulations!
Yeah,
again.
it really was, and that was because of Blown Away and because of having Instagram and people looking me up on there. And he was nice enough to message me. We're working out the details right now, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh, fantastic. Let's bring Mike Bickerton into the conversation. Mike, how do you see the impact of Blown Away and its impact on glassmaking? You've helped make other artists and art forms more visible at a worldwide scale. How do you see this playing out for glassmaking?
I mean, I've done a lot of shows where we've had big audiences, but Blown Away is hands down the show that I've been contacted about by every single person I know. And I mean, people that I haven't seen in 20 years from high school, like just everybody just connected with this show. So I hope that it translates into some actual dollars for the artists, because one thing we don't spend too much time talking about in the competition is how expensive this art form is. You know, like between the studio time and the glass materials themselves, and just it's so expensive. It's wildly expensive. So, you know, I hope that the Netflix show helps to, you know, get likes on photos on social media, but also turn into sales on all their websites. All of these artists have glass that you can purchase so that you can have in your own home. So if you like somebody from the show, go buy a piece of their glass. That's what I would hope would be the outcome.
Yeah, we all greatly appreciate the support that we've been getting, and I've been in contact with even a few people from season 1. They had a boost just by season 2 coming out. So, you know, it's the all boats rise on the high tide theory, where this is impacting not only us as contestants, but glassblowing studios around the world and across the states have had a sudden boom in people wanting to take classes, wanting to buy presents for whatever reason. And there's a lot of people who are benefiting just from having that many eyes on glassblowing as an experience.
One of the things we've seen in our with the display here at the museum of the Blown Away objects on view is you see visitors really connecting. You know, there's such a deep emotional connection that people have had by seeing the object made, by getting to know the artist. And it just, to me, you just see joy when people engage with an object in that way. It's a beautiful outcome. And to see everyone's work being showcased in this way, and commissions coming, sales improving, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Jason, I'll give you the final word on this one. Other reflections on how this is impacting the glass world, the glass artist community you interact with.
Oh boy, it's a big impact. I'm really excited about all of the people who are getting exposed to glass art for the first time. Folks who would otherwise never have encountered glass or known about it or cared about it are getting a view through Mike's lenses into my world, into this thing that I'm passionate about and care really deeply about. I'm sure that it's going to translate into sales. In fact, it already has. But more than that, I'm really excited about all the people who are going to be coming into my community, wanting to learn how to do this thing. I think as more eyes get on this art and this craft, the more techniques that are going to get discovered, the quality of the craft is going to increase as more people get into it. More minds on it, more eyes on it, more thoughts on it. My community gets bigger and better.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of bigger and better, the hot shop is heating up. They're on the final heat there. At least it looks like they're close. Eric, tell us what's going on.
Rob, you got it. We're closing in on the finishing of this object here. So I mean, if you know glass blowing, you might think, well, you guys aren't close at all because you haven't even put it on the punty yet. But this is not a punty piece. This is the piece that we're going to finish here at the bench. You see, we got everybody engaged there. They got a nice jack line in there, and really the only thing left to do is to blow this up to the final size. So they just plug in the blower.
How's that automatic blower working for you guys?
You know what? I've got to say it's obviously been a lifesaver. You know, we really couldn't have opened the museum without it. You know, we do glass blowing demonstrations every day. We've done them every day since July. And, you know, like anything, it took a little bit of getting used to. But now after having used it for, you know, better than 9 months, I have to say that, you know, after this pandemic is over and when we're no longer wearing masks, this blower is going to stay right there on the bench, and not for everything, but there are for some things that we do. We really do enjoy using it. It's a really nicely designed machine that gives you just the right amount of pressure. It's variable. We can vary the volume and the pressure of it, so it's really just been wonderful. So we're grateful that we have it. Now, of course, you know, there are plenty of things that we do where we wish we could take the mask off and just give it a little puff here and there. But we'll be back there soon enough. So got George here taking what's probably going to be one of the last heats. We'll see if we got enough heat in there to get the volume the cat's looking for. I'm going to hop in here and see if I can't do some shielding.
Like, I mean, how cool is this? This is happening live.
It's great.
Mike,
With the one
do you have any direction for our cameras here, Mike? Can you contain yourself from calling out the shots?
It's a bit of a struggle, but I get really shrill when the glass blowing happens. Like when Kat was balancing that Pastorelli plate, I think that it is just nuts that you all have the confidence it's not going to tip over. And also the size of this piece is massive. So yeah, no, I don't have any direction. I'm just watching as a fan.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're a fan. And you know, this shop here, it's really well suited. You know, you can't have every furnace be large enough to make a piece this big. It just takes an incredible amount of energy. But it's great to have it once in a while when you need it, when you really want to take advantage of a team like this and make something of an impressive scale. So it's great to see Kat doing that for us tonight. So probably the final heat here. Looks like we're adjusting the pressure here. You want more pressure or more volume? More pressure? More. All right, we got more.
You got more, and you've got George.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking.
Look at that. It made a difference, huh?
I feel so futuristic right now.
Right?
So good.
You know, the amazing thing, too, is that we're still under 1 pound of pressure. So it doesn't really take a lot of pressure to blow glass, and that's an amazing thing. Boy, look at that.
That looks fantastic.
That's
Kat,
beautiful.
I can hear everyone applauding on Zoom. Wonderful.
Watch this team work together. The way everyone's creating their movements, it's great. It's fun that every single job that all of the 5 people on the floor are doing, all of the individual tasks are the most important task in any given moment, and that's a really neat thing about glass. Everybody's job is the most important job.
Absolutely. Gio's getting the spacesuit on.
That piece looks so good.
It's just massively bigger than the example that was made during Blown Away. It's fantastic.
Man, George just doesn't care about the size of that thing. He can really handle.
Yeah, he's a little upset there wasn't one more gather. Just believe it's just barely fitting in. That's great.
So I'm back. Sorry, I dropped out there for a minute, but yeah, you can see this piece has really grown. Obviously, we're at a scale now where, you know, given the amount of glass that we have, this is about as big as we want to get it. So the only thing left to do is to get it off the end of the pipe here. Gio's got the silver suit on. Obviously, we want to be careful about grabbing something that's over 1,000 degrees. Cat's using a little diamond edge file there to store the neckline so we can bonk this off easily. How beautiful is that pattern? I can't wait to see this when it's cooled and out of the annealer.
And this will function like a water lens the way it did in the exhibit as well, right?
No, actually, Kat said that this one, because it's an opaque color, that this is one that she wasn't planning on using on filling with water like the ones in the final challenge. So
okay,
this will be presented on the breakoff here.
There we go. Hold your breath.
Look at that. Comes
Perfect.
right off.
And the crowd goes wild.
And the crowd goes wild into the annealer, safe and sound.
And there has to be a high five or else the piece isn't completed. I learned that on Netflix.
Oh, did you learn that or did you guys script that? Let's see.
It's automatic. High fives around. There you go. That's great. Well, congratulations to Kat and the team. That concludes. What a way to conclude the public portion of our Blown Away Season 2 Connected by Glass. Thank you so much this evening for joining us. For museum members who are going to stick around for the Q&A, you should be watching, have a link in your email for a Zoom, to participate in Zoom for the extended event. And if you're not a member, and oh my goodness, you've got to become a member, cmog.org/members, and please join. Nothing but fun for museum members. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We're so proud to have partnered with Blown Away on this incredible show. Big thanks to the Blown Away team, Mike Bickerton, director. Great to see Kat Burns at work today. And Mike Shelbo, Jason McDonald. So much fun to interact with you this evening. So this episode of Connected by Glass will be added to our YouTube channel. And you're invited to come to the museum to come see the Blown Away Season 2 exhibit, which will be on throughout 2021. We'll be back with another Connected by Glass event in March, and we look for more details on social media. Thank you all for joining us. Members, stick around, and thank you all, and have a great night. So, welcome to members. It's we have a new format that we're just experimenting with tonight, and welcome Kat Burns, fresh from the hot shot, and we have Shelbo, Jason, and Mike with us continuing. So, first of all, let's just start with Kat. You need water? You good? You ready to go here?
We're all good, man.
Okay.
We're used to being dehydrated.
Okay.
It'll make the whiskey better in a couple minutes.
So you were saying your life really hasn't changed since
No. I mean, I just have been hanging out at my farm, basically.
Yeah, that's great.
And there are more people on Instagram, but they're kind of like imaginary people, right? So like my day-to-day life is still the same.
It's great. Well, it's great to see you back in the hot shop.
Yeah. It's fun to be back in the hot shop.
And you're making work at the studio too, right?
Yeah, starting the next couple of days, I have tons of stuff that I need to make at the studio for mostly the shops.
Okay, that's great. So I'm really curious. Did the work with Blown Away inform the work you're making now? Has it helped to take you to a different place?
I don't think the work itself is taking me to a different place, but I think the way that my mind thinks about making work has changed in like an irrevocable way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not making pieces necessarily from the show, except for this, obviously, but it's really more about how you conceptualize a piece.
Yeah. And for Mike, are you feeling, Shelbo rather, are you feeling the same way?
I have plans to do a few reproductions of work, a more refined, finished piece of some of the ideas from the show. But my entire goal of the show was making original pieces that I was making for the first time. and so it wasn't anything I had planned to turn into an item that would be available for all time. I'm just moving back into making whatever I want, which is what I've been doing the whole time anyway.
We have a question from a museum member, and I'll put it out to Jason. The member's asking advice for people wanting to get started in glass. You were talking about people coming into the glass community, and give us some good advice.
Well, the first thing is that everybody starts at exactly the same place. So a lot of folks come into the shop and are frustrated at their lack of ability or skill, or they thought that they'd come in and be wizards right off the bat. It's not the case. You break things, you get burned, you get cut, you get frustrated, your stuff melts, your stuff slumps, nothing goes right. So if you can put your ego on a shelf and know that you're just gonna suck for a long time.
A long time.
That's the advice I can give. The second is put yourself around people who are doing the kind of work that you're interested in. If you don't see it done well regularly, you're not going to get better at it. So put yourself around people who you admire.
Also, your options are a university, a community college, a local private studio, or a local public studio, and those are everywhere.
Yeah. Is
don't forget YouTube.
And YouTube, totally.
Good point. One of the things we see in Blown Away is this ancient reality of glass blowers drawing on the floor. And how does that, the question comes from one of our members, how do those drawings help to give you perspective about the glass being blown? Drawing it at scale on the floor.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
I personally draw things 20 different times before I get into the shop, but that final drawing on the floor really solidifies kind of the size and the shape, and it's a really easy way to just kind of look back and reference, because if you have a piece of paper, it's gonna, at least for me, it's gonna get lost, it's gonna catch on fire. You need that visual right there to keep you on track.
Yeah, it's Mike Bickerton. You guys captured that so well. Was that a surprise to you that artists use the floor as their canvas?
I mean, nothing really surprised me once I got to learn that every single artist is going to have a different approach. So what we tried to do, because some artists don't sketch out their work. Some people can do it right from the drawing they have in their head. But for TV, we needed to see something visual. So we would always ask, there's the chalk on the floor, the plexi board, they can use dry erase markers, or, charcoal and pad. We want to see a little bit of variety because we're going to watch some of these artists sketch 10 times. So, we like to mix it up a little bit, but we always just wanted something that was super visual. So when we found out that drawing on the floor with chalk is actually a thing that people did, that was easy because that is very easy to capture on camera.
I'm going to throw this out to all the artists. Question from one of our members. Can you speak to who your inspirations in glass art are? And we'll start with Jason.
There are so many inspirations in the glass world. People who are just making incredible work. I look to Michael Shunke and Josie Gluck a lot. I'm really inspired by the work they do with traditional Venetian technique. I'm really into Preston Singletary and the work he's doing, how his work spans not just glass blowing, but casting and cold working. Yeah, absolutely. Boyd Tsugiki is a wizard, and Lisa is incredible. I like Dan Friday's work a lot. And I'm really inspired by Deborah Moore. I think that Deborah Moore is making some of the coolest installation work in glass today.
Yeah, that's a great list. Shelbo, I saw you putting a couple of thumbs up there in that list.
A big time thumbs up. Yeah, those are amazing name drops. I fully approve.
Yeah, that's great. And how about you, Kat? Inspirations?
I just had so many teachers now. So, Penelope Radkov has amazing colors. Martin Yanecki, his sculpting. Tada. Claire Kelly, mixing color and sculpting. Boyd and Lisa taught me everything I know about how to make an actual form out of glass. I think the key is to learn from as many different humans as possible, because every single person does something a tiny bit differently, and what you may not learn from one person, you may totally vibe with another human.
Yeah.
What about you, Sheldo?
I have a wide range of heroes. Definitely at the top of the list would be Pino Signoretto. I was lucky enough to be a student when he came to Palomar College, my community college, where I was learning glassblowing, and he did a demo when I was just a year and a half into learning, which was amazing. Lucio Bubacco is fantastic and amazing sculptor. He does soft glass lamp working, combines it with traditional furnace glass all the time, and his portfolio is envious, to say the least. It's fantastic, and my all-time number one favorite, and I'm glad to call her a friend, is Carmen Lozar. If you're not familiar with Carmen's work, she has probably the best portfolio out of anybody I know. Her pieces are amazingly executed, and yeah, lots of good stuff to be found there with Carmen. I could go on and on. I'm a huge glass nerd, and basically everybody who I've ever seen doing it as a successful career artist is somebody who I look up to and is still inspiring me every day. Everybody who I see getting different things accomplished in the world of glassblowing, whether it's being on Blown Away or getting a museum installation somewhere, it really is just more proof that any of us can do it. And for the longest time, I'd go around saying, like, if I can do this, you can do this, because I seriously was just some random, slightly delinquent punk art kid who ended up being lucky enough to be one town over from a community college with glass blowing. I don't know what I would be doing, something within the arts, but I jumped into a career in glass right from being a student. I was able to get a job working for glassblowers while I was, getting paid to practice. It changed my life and set me on course to actually have a career when I really didn't have any intention at all as a punk teenager.
I love that. It's a qualification. The random punk guy on the street who just happens to fall in love with glassblowing.
Yeah, go to a local community college and sign up. It's cheap.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends who ended up just starting in a friend's studio or in a local shop where they could pick up time or trade sweeping the floor for an hour on the bench. There's a lot of ways that you can make it work, and money isn't necessarily the answer. It's the dedication and willingness to devote yourself to the craft, and to know that jumping in at the bottom of the totem pole is a good thing. It teaches you to earn your way, and that's a big part of sustainability in the glass world.
Speaking of taking classes, a museum member just sent in a comment that they were lucky enough to take Kat's beginning class, and Gio was there too. And is there any chance you're going to be teaching another class at the studio, Kat?
I will be teaching classes in the studio once all of this COVID nonsense is over. I was offered doing online classes, but I'm just not I'm a face-to-face person. Like, I really, when you're in a class with me, we kind of become a glass family. We do dinners together. So I need personally as a teacher that one-on-one experience, and no, I would not thrive online. Like I could barely set this up today. Jason, I don't remember if they asked you, how did you start?
I fell into glass blowing in middle school. I was at a middle school in Tacoma, Washington that had a glass blowing program ran by this organization called Hilltop Artists in Residence. So
Oh, you were a hilltopper.
Yeah, so I stumbled in at 14, not because I liked glass or anything, but because I had a crush on a girl who was getting involved. And then
That's how I started too.
I just found out that I love glass. Not I don't remember her name.
Hey, Mike, can you take us behind the scene a little bit in terms of how the contestants were selected? I know there was a big casting call. How long did it take to make that selection and then put the whole series together to shoot it?
Now, my role in the show really is a little bit closer to production. So I wasn't involved in the casting. I get this like amazing set of 10 artists with their bios and their websites and everything, and they say, here's who's coming into the hot shop in 2 weeks. And then I just go and explore as much of their glass as I can. But the casting process is, and these three will be able to speak to it much better, it's a submit a video, it's a short online form, tell us about how you started in glass, send us a video to introduce yourself, which is basically where we're seeing like what would they be like narrating a challenge, and how do they introduce themselves, and then it just comes down to what is the right mix for this particular season. So it's a lot of decision by committee, and it takes a couple of months.
Yeah. We also got a question about the cold working. So we see all the action in the hot shop, and then this magic presentation. There's cold working in between. We get a little glimpse of it in the last episode of the putting the assembly together. We'll start with Kat. What's the behind the scenes when you're putting the pieces together in cold working?
So Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So personally, I love cold working. I date a cold worker. He's taught me tons about it. So you don't actually get a ton of time to cold work, but that's why I tried to at least do something like a Batuto piece like Hot in the show to at least kind of give a homage to like a little bit of the other forms. That's why I tried to do some of the kiln working in there. But really, you get maybe a half hour. The final episode, I think we get like an hour and a half. And as far as cold working is concerned, like Gio's been working on one project right now that's been 3 weeks of just cold working. So that is not a lot of time.
So let's go on, please. Let me go to the time pressure. You're talking about the time pressure of the cold working. There's like the guest star of all Blown Away episodes is the clock and the pressure of the clock, and how much of that really dominated your thinking. And let's go to Jason in terms of the time pressure of getting it done.
Are we still talking about the time pressure of the cold shop or
cold shop and the hot shop?
I thought that the cold shop restriction was one of the more challenging aspects of the show. We got a really limited amount of time in there, and we shared it with another person. So all of the equipment, if there was something that you needed to use, and someone else was using it, that cut your time down even further. I think that cold working is an art unto itself, and I would love to see that featured in the future. I think that it's such an important aspect of working glass. The hot stuff is visually exciting, but the cold stuff is, well, that's where a lot of work gets done. As far as working within the time frame in the hot shop, that's nothing that anybody who works in glass isn't already familiar with. Most of the time you have a very set schedule. There's someone who's blowing glass before you, and there's someone blowing glass after you, and you have to get your work done in that time frame. So it's not anything new.
Right. And Shelbo, your perspective on the co-working aspect of it, also the time pressure.
The cold working, I wish we had more time. It was always a rush for me. I was down to the last millisecond every time. And then immediately after was the very tight 10 minutes in which we had to put our piece on the pedestal for final presentation. And we were the only ones who could touch it and everything. So you had to have it ready. And the equipment was good enough to do quick chop jobs and grinds on and stuff. But if I didn't go in there with a previous knowledge of using UV glue, then I would have had a big problem, because I knew that a bunch of my pieces were going to have to be assembled, multi-components ending up being put together in the cold shop. So it was super tough and made it extra challenging after already the time constraints during the hot shop time, which for me, as the slowest glass blower on the planet, I found that it was really hard to get every last second out of those times. And I'm pretty sure I walked off the floor last or close to last on every challenge that I was in. It made it a bit nerve-wracking, because as being that slow, I only really had one shot, and in a couple of cases I used up half my time on something that went into the trash can that is left on the editing room floor. But you don't see what you missed is me using up half of my precious time for the challenge, and ending up with my mountain and tree vase in that challenge. That one
Right.
threw me for a loop, and ended up to where, if they would have seen the behind the scenes part of it, you would have seen me execute a really bad first design, throw it away, and then start from scratch on my backup idea.
So it sounds like we're getting some love for the edit room floor reel.
I think that honestly, as a fan of the show, the editing is one of the best parts, because it shows all the juicy goodness and cuts out a bunch of the stuff that you don't really need to know it. And I just wish that the show was even longer format, because then they could put more process footage in, as well as all the commentary, which is crucial for reality TV show. But everybody loves the process and listening to the artists explain what they're doing as they're doing it.
Honestly, I just want a whole reel of all of us cursing that they've taken out, because I'm sure there's a lot of it.
A lot.
There is so much cursing. Like, these are sailor mouth truckers that are blowing these beautiful pieces of glass art.
It's true.
It's okay.
It's part of the process, I'm told. You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. So other than Mike Bickerton, other than the editing out of all the sailor mouth language, or not all of it, but some of it, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the show from season 1 to season 2? How did you come into season 2 with lessons from season 1, and what steps did you take that evolve visually?
I mean, I think we learned so much in season 1, just episode to episode, and so by the time we got to see it edited, and I got to work in the edit suite with our editors, we had learned so much more. So when we walked in on day 1 in season 2, we could speak the language of, oh, I'm going to do a reticello pattern or something. And we know, okay, cool, there's going to be cane pulling, there's going to be this, then we're going to blow cups, then we're going to do pickups. So we knew what to anticipate in their process a little bit more. And we also just really fell in love with some of the shots that we got. There was so much slow motion glass footage, because it's really amazing to watch molten glass in slow-mo when there's beautiful lights hitting it and it's got the orange glow from the glory holes. It's mesmerizing. So we took the lessons of what we really enjoyed, what the audience seemed to enjoy, and just did more. And we were fortunate that those artists in season 1 were very much a test case, and everything turned out well. They made some beautiful pieces, but they were very much a teaching ground for us as the TV show. As was season 2. I mean, we were learning every single day.
Yeah. Uh, I witnessed at least one moment, maybe a couple more, where when somebody was really kind of the glassblower was really on the edge of it, and there lots of tension, and is it going to fall off the pipe? And you're directing, like suddenly you've got every camera aimed at this one person in that one moment, and it's like that's both brilliant and also cruel.
It's a mix of both. I mean, what we realized is, and somebody alluded to it earlier about Jason. I think it was you where you're talking about there's so much failure when you start. You're not going to be great when you start. And by the time the glassblowers get into the blown away hot shop, in season one, when a piece dropped on the ground, my reaction on any show is shoot the face of the person whose work has just exploded. Glassblowers give no reaction when their piece hits the floor because it's happened hundreds of times. So another thing we learned in season two is, hey, if the glass goes to the floor, the camera should tilt down because that's where the viewer's eyes would go. Is like, what just happened? And then the glassblower will give the same potty mouth reaction and then just carry on. So, we learned also when things were getting really, really big, and if something hadn't been torched in a long time and you could tell the glass was cooling, that was a signal of, I think that we should have a camera on it just in case something happens. Because the audience wants to see it. It's super stressful to shoot it, and hopefully the artists don't feel like all the cameras descend on them, because we would only ever put 2 cameras on something, one for a beautiful close-up shot, and then one just to see the non-reaction from the artist.
Well, that was a moment during when I.
Well, I also, is there a way to just real quick say that, like, you also become friends with all of the people shooting the show, so it's not like the stranger is like looking at you, like, you know that it's like Charlie or Chris, and they want you to succeed because they're also visual artists too. They're just making a show, right. So if they're invested with you too, like they're not. It's not being surrounded by people that want you to fail. It's them there, like kind of also giving you support. Like, we want you to do it. So it's not super cruel. It's only when it breaks that you're like, oh fuck, oh darn.
Yeah.
Shout out to the crew, the camera crew, the audio crew, everybody who was behind the scenes on staff.
Chris and Jody
was amazing. They all were so cool, and it was nice to see the operation work that well, being a reality TV fan myself and having an idea that it could be that well-oiled of a machine, and then getting on board with it was really a good thing to see.
And I'll throw my 2 cents in as well. The safety culture on the set and the full-time safety officer there was just, that's how we're built here, and it was just great to see that. Last question as we wrap up. If you had one piece of advice, lightning round, one piece of advice for future contestants, what would it be? We'll start with you, Kat.
For future contestants, don't go with any sort of preconceived notion about who you are necessarily. Take it as a total experience for just growing, and just let the show inform you and push you in whatever direction. Because at the end of the day, it's just a show, but it's a free glass blowing with world-renowned people giving you great critiques of your work. So just take that in and of itself as a gift. So just use it.
Bobo.
My best, I would say, for anyone who wants to get on the show, your number one move is to make a really good video that grabs the casting director, the casting staff, and then you got your foot in the door. It's up to you to have the ability to make the work that can speak for itself as well. So that's important. Maybe do a double check of where you're at in your career to be able to go up against 9 other legends in the mix and be able to actually throw down. There's going to be stiffer competition if they do more seasons. Now that there's been season 2, it's established, and a lot of people are going to be wanting to get on season 3 if there's a season 3, and I hope that actually brings out even more insane competition. And I want to see the people who go on there all trying their absolute best the way that we all did. That was my favorite part about season 2, is that every single person was trying their absolute best, and they didn't want somebody to go home because of whatever. They wanted to go home because their piece beat your best piece. And with that being the kind of like taking it up to the next level of competition, I was really glad that was the season I got to be on, because I didn't want to do it if there was any free gimme type of situations. I wanted everybody to come in swinging and be really ready to, yeah, exactly, make it a competition to where we were all fighting to be there every single time with everything we had. So it was great.
Jason, my word on advice.
Yeah, just to wrap up the advice column. Fortune favors the bold. If you think you've got it, you probably got it. And cast, put it out there. You're not going to know until you've made the audition video, and you're not going to get the opportunity to be on a show like this if you don't try. So try. Don't feel like you don't have enough experience or enough charisma or enough anything. Because if you think that, then you don't. But just don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And have a passport and be ready to go, because the time from being accepted by casting to when we were going to shoot was a very short window of time. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but I personally would have loved to book many sessions in a furnace studio to practice before I went out to the show. I only had 2 times that were short shifts on the bench, and then I got into the hot shop. So practice makes better. Practice. And then when you get there, know that they're using Kugler cullet and Kugler color, and that the furnace and the glory hole are a little bit different than what you're used to, but glass is glass. You'll settle into to how it feels to work in that hot shop in that atmosphere real quick. And then, I can't wait to see what the next round is. Mike, you got any confirmation on a season 3?
No, what I always say, I mean, Netflix has way more followers than I do, so they generally get to make the big announcements. I mean, if I wanted to call my mom and tell her something, my social media account is the one to do it. But no, there's no news on a season 3. Season 2 has just come out, so I think we should still just enjoy and watch and celebrate you all, and just stay tuned. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, for season 2, honestly, after season 1 happened and then landed on Netflix, I just kept my eyes peeled for the next casting call, and I was following the production company Marble Media on social media, and it was through them that the casting call went out for season 2. And it gets spread around the glass community pretty quickly, but at the same time, this one's going to be even more sought after.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your insight tonight. Mike Shelbo, shout out to you. Where can we find you on social media?
Check me out on Instagram, just my name, at Mike Shelbo, MikeShelbo. And then everything else is linked on there. You can find my website, my store for buying stuff when I have it, and any other social media platforms. So easy to find, Mike Shelbo.
Great. And Jason, thank you as well. And how do we keep in touch with you?
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for your time. You can find me on Instagram at JasonMcDonald42 and on the web at jasonmcdonaldglass.com.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, for joining us tonight. And Kat, how in the world can we keep in touch with you on social media?
Anything at Kat Burns Glass, TikTok, Instagram. I'll see you on there.
All the magic. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Mike Beckerton, for your artistry to make glass blowing so beautiful and for the world to enjoy it. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you to our members for your continued support of the museum. have a great evening, and thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, friends.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys soon. Bye.